And we'll start the show today with Meet the Depressed and Kristen Wilker. Go, Miss Wilker.
Conversation, he directly contradicted the sworn testimony of one of his aides who testified to the January 6th committee that the former president was so determined to go to the Capitol himself after his rally that he grabbed a Secret Service agent inside the president's limo. Take a listen.
All right, we're going to come back to Miss Hutchinson tell her outright lie. Welcome to GAMcast for September 21st, 2023. Goodness, I can't believe it's been a week since we broadcast. Still trying to readjust back to American life. We should be going tomorrow. We probably going to have to bump it to 10:30 or 11:30 rather, because I've got a client coming in at 10:30. But I will do one tomorrow, I believe, at some point. So anyway, let's get to it. The news of the day through the lens of the law, the history, and the Constitution. So I'm going to talk today and concentrate a lot today on Cassidy Hutchinson, because if you understand the Cassidy Hutchinson story and what's going on here, you understand the entirety of the news. And there is no news right now, folks. We are literally in full election interference, full on 1984, right? There is no news. This is just all narrative and hoax from beginning to end. And there's no way to break the cycle that I'm about to explain to you. And I'm going to use Cassidy Hutchinson because she's a perfect example. Now, we'll come back to this, how she came to fame, because this is where you have to really start. You have to start because no one had ever heard of Cassidy Hutchinson before she appeared on before the January 6th committee. And of course, you heard Kristen Wilker there make a big deal out of the fact that she testified under oath. Let me tell you something about testifying under oath, folks, as an attorney. People lie. Nobody cares two bits about the oath anymore. People lie. You expect them to lie. And I don't even do depositions in most of my cases anymore, because it's like, okay, so you're just going to lie. The courts will let whatever you lie put down, and they'll treat them as if they're true. Then they can't be contradicted and heard of by a jury, which is absurd to me. There's no jury trial then if the people, I don't care what the person said. You can't just say they said it and therefore it's true. That has to be tested before a jury, so I can say, I don't care if anybody contradicted. The jury may not believe them. May they think they're lying. They won't let you do that. So you've just let them put the lies down on paper. The other reason I don't do it is you've prepared them. So the next time they lie, they'll be a little bit better. Most liars aren't good liars. Most people aren't. So anyway, I digress. But anyway, the oath means nothing. The other reason, before I move on, that oath doesn't mean anything is there's no real penalty. When was the last time you heard of somebody getting prosecuted for breaching oath or testifying improperly under oath? You haven't. There's no penalty. If we started giving a real penalty to it and started, putting people in jail or prosecuting for them, they'd probably stop. So why am I talking about Cassidy Hutchinson? Well, let me tell you why I'm talking about Cassidy Hutchinson. I'm talking about her because in my feed this morning on the Twitter or X, whatever the heck it's calling itself these days, this story came up. And it broke yesterday or maybe the day before. I can't recall. I've been really, really busy. I got a trial coming up Monday and Tuesday, so I'm really kind of under the gun here. But I'm not exactly sure. But she's got a book. Now, the first thing that ought to strike you is, why does some relatively unknown aide in the White House? She wasn't a big-time aide. She was like an aide. I think if I recall correctly, she was an aide to Meadows or something. I mean, she was there that day. She was in what was going on, right? But she's not a big-time aide. It's not like somebody can publish a book that's going to give you real insights there. Why does she have a book? Okay, that's suspicious to begin with. But let's set that aside. Okay, so turns out she just happened to be in a monumental day in history. Now the Democrats and the spy agencies have made it such. And so she's there. So you let that go. Okay, so some people might want to buy a book. Now, spoiler alert, you go look at the actual sales of the actual book and you don't look at how much she was paid, which can be controlled, but when you actually have to go to the people and see who buys it, you're going to see there's not a lot of really sales. And if there are sales, it'll be sales of institutions. Like universities will buy it. Other groups will buy it. They'll buy it in bulk. But the average person on Amazon, right, isn't going to buy it. Audible not going to buy it. But anyway, so what is dropped? Now again, this ought to tip you off here. Wait a minute. You've got a book that's being announced. It's coming out in a couple of days. And all of a sudden you're telling us bombshell information. Well, that's suspicious. If it was such important information and such a bombshell, why hasn't it leaked? Why didn't you tell us if we needed to know this and this was so important? Why didn't you tell us? Why do you wait 2.5 years later, right? Now, folks, ordinarily in a rational society, which we haven't been since Trump came to office, and folks, but a lot of people look at 2016 election and say that's where it happened, and you're missing the boat by a long shot. Trump didn't land on American politics. American politics landed on Trump. Why did they land on Trump? Because the middle class, right around that time, ceased to become a majority. You can't just win elections anymore by getting the middle class, right? They're still a priority. By far the biggest. It's probably 46, 47, 45%. It's big, but you lop off those, white liberal females, and now you're down to about, 30, right, that you can reliably count on, and all of a sudden it's a dogfight. And then you throw in a little bit of cheating here or there, and you've gotten to 50%. So that's why they're able to do this, right, is you don't have enough people that are like people that are listening to this podcast and podcasts like it, that just, hey, listen, I want you to bring me, I don't have time to read this stuff. You read it. You have some back history, kind of give me the backstory, give me the story. I want to be informed and move on, right? There are not enough people like that, right? And so many people aren't skeptical enough that if you lie to them once or twice, they'll keep listening to you. And another part of that is they want to be told. It's like my own family. A lot of my own family's like this. They don't tell you what the truth is. They tell you what they want the truth to be. Big difference there, okay? And the best example I can give you that is every weekend everybody knows this, huge Cowboys fan. We are probably going to win this Sunday. It's one of the worst teams in football we're playing, okay? But if we were going, let's say, to Philadelphia, to play the Philadelphia Eagles, as Rush used to call them, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose that game. I mean, we could win it, and I want us to win it, but I'm going to go into that with the reality, with the truth, with the understanding that that's probably a loss. Now, that's okay. I mean, Super Bowl teams lose 4 or 5 games a year, so it's not a big deal. And when you play a comparable team on their home field, right, you should lose if you're comparable, right? I mean, but anyway, but I've got friends and family, and they follow the Cowboys. Oh, we're gonna win this one. You're just wrong. The so and so's not playing well, and so it's just like, okay, and that's what you want the truth to be, but that's not what it is. And same thing here. You got a lot of people out there. Think of The View. Those people, they just want to be told. We're going to get to a little bit of that too, but. Anyway, so let's cover a couple other stories, and we'll come back to Cassidy Hutchinson. But you should already know, all of this is very suspicious. And why Rudy? Why Rudy, Cassidy? So, again, there's a lot of stories out there. Rudy's single. Rudy's supposed to be somewhat of a ladies' man. I tend to doubt those stories. They don't make any sense to me, but whatever. I mean, he looks like an opportunist. But there's a reason why it's Rudy. And you should know. In fact, let's see if the next story in this here. No, the next story is Rusty Rockets. So let's come to Rusty Rockets, and we'll swing back around to Cassidy Hutchinson in a moment. So Rusty Rockets on Twitter, what he is, at Rusty Rockets, is Russell Brand. Russell Brand is an old Lothario. All these stories that are surfacing now about him being out and lewd and crude with women is not a surprise to anyone. It's been out there. Nobody cared. Nobody bothered. All of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, after Russell Brand has gotten, he's got a multi-million following across Rumble, Twitter, and other, he just dwarfs people like me. And, and I'm not jealous, and I'm happy for him, and I'm glad he's telling people the truth, because he is opening people's eyes, and that's ultimately what we all want, is people to see the truth and then make your own decisions once you see the truth. But it is awful coincidental that all of these charges have come up after he's gone from being a Lothario who basically went out and parroted liberal talking points or leftist talking points. All of a sudden he goes, and he's not even right-wing. Notice what they do to him. All of a sudden, he's a right-wing figure, just like laughably Matt Taibbi is a right-wing figure. Laughably, Dave Rubin is a right-wing. All of these are known leftist qualities, always have been. The moment they venture off the reservation, and I do mean that advisedly, or plantation, you take whatever you want, we're talking about Democrats, then all of a sudden, you're a pariah. And so all of a sudden, you've got these convenient charges out there to harass him. Now, when it first broke, I figured it was just lawfare. Right? We know what lawfare is. What is lawfare? Well, you're mostly seeing it with Trump, where you basically disregard, you set aside the rule of the law to attack an individual. That's basically what it is, okay? What started with Trump, then it got to Fox, right? They're suing Fox for defamation. What's the defamation? Well, you put this person on your news network. Yeah, so that's what we do. Well, you didn't believe them. Well, you can't mind read, and even if I did do that, that's not defamation. I have every right to put people on to say whatever I want. Well, we're just going to change the rules of defamation. Oh, we're not going to say that out loud. Oh, actually, if we're Joe Biden, we might say it out loud because we're that stupid, right? But typically, we're not going to say that out loud. So all of a sudden, you get a defamation case against Fox. Alex Jones, another good example. There's no defamation, even if he said what they said he said, and he didn't even say it. Right? So just rewriting the rules of defamation. Same thing with Trump, with the E. Jean Carroll. They revived cases that would have been long past the statute of limitations, right? Anyway, so this is basically lawfare. Well, they've been lawfaring Rudy. So Rudy has already faced, I think, 2 challenges to his law license. What's the challenge to your law license? Well, the challenge is you filed this claim that we think is frivolous. Well, I can explain to you real quickly. I think I have an article up at our Substack about this, greatamericanmail.substack.com. But the point of that is that could never be a basis to bar you for this very reason. Even assuming it's frivolous, right? And I'm not, and I don't think any of the cases Rudy brought were frivolous, by the way. But even assuming they are, lawyers have, and it's in every legal code out there for this very reason, they have a part where you can say, even if it would be absolutely against the law, I'm bringing it to change existing law. Now, Rudy absolutely would have been smart enough to say that at the time and make sure he put it in the pleadings at the time. And he doesn't. You don't have to do that. You can later testify that you were doing it. And let me just make this as clear as I can make it to anybody. You want to understand that. When Thurgood Marshall, yes, that Thurgood Marshall, right? I think he was a lawyer for the NAACP, or it might have been the Southern Leadership Council. I don't know which. It doesn't matter. He was the lead lawyer in the civil rights cases. He won Brown v. Board. When he was bringing those cases, it was absolutely frivolous. Under Plessy versus Ferguson, it was a frivolous claim. The law was clear, separately was clear. There was no case there. He is entitled to bring that claim, even if that is the case, to say, hey, it shouldn't be the law. We need to change it. Just like we changed Roe v. Wade, just like we should change it. And if he's doing that, then he's absolutely protected from claims of frivolous litigation or losing his law license. So if you know that, folks, and folks, you check me, everything I say, anything, always go check it. If I'm telling you that's the case, and that every lawyer has been taught that since the United States began. Why? Because we take a different view in the United States. Now, I'm going to come back to Rusty Rockets. He's in Britain. It's a little different. But folks, whatever happens over there, eventually it makes its way here, unfortunately. And then when it gets here, it starts in California, New York, and it makes it to your red state. Or red city. There are no red cities, but whatever. Anyway, you get the point. So if you know that, then why are they coming after Rudy? Because they're suspending the rule of law right before your eyes. And when you see the magnitude of the brainwashing and the magnitude of the lying, right? And the outright demagoguery, it is astounding. You have people like Lawrence Tribe, who actually wrote a constitutional law book, and he will go out and say that these lawfare trying to take Rudy Giuliani, they're trying to take Clark's license, all these people that challenge the election, they're trying to take their law license, they're asking the judges to sanction them for frivolous behavior, and they know they are attacking both the rule of law and the essence of the American experiment, which is you can always challenge the government. That's one of the differences between us and them. Anyway, so that's why Rudy's in the news. And they've just now, so they started with Trump, then they got to Trump associates, Alex Jones types, Rudy types, Jeffrey Clark types, etc. Now we're getting to Russell Brands of the world. Oh, you're a Lothario, right? It's just like the old Soviet. You show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That just means you tell me who it is, and I'll fabricate what I want to fabricate, right? And so if it's the Great American Mail, it might have something to do with, wine or golf. If it has to do with Rusty Rockets, it's going to be his conduct with women. I don't know what you're into, but they'll find something. They'll just make it up if they have to. And that's exactly what's happening. Well, that's bad enough. So I want you to understand, you're Russell Brand. You've decided to put out more libertarian sort of constitutional precepts, and all of a sudden you're under attack. Well, the attacks don't work against you. You keep growing. And I just mean, oh, he's a right-winger, oh, he's a fascist, oh, he's a white supremacist. When that stuff doesn't work, now they've got the tools to ratchet up. Now, folks, you got to understand, they didn't used to have these tools. One of the things that has scared them is the internet. They can't stand it. You should go look at my Twitter feed sometimes when I publish these great these Substack articles, greatamericanmail.substack.com. If I get to it today and I have time, I'll go over the latest one we put up about the gag order. Again, complete lawfare, ridiculous motion. Jack Smith should be sanctioned for bringing it. It's a ridiculous motion. I don't know if I'll get to it or not, but anyway. So coming back to the point of Rusty Rocket. So when that doesn't work, right, that's when they started with the lawfare stuff, or just getting rid of the rule of law. Oh, okay, well, we tried the white supremacy. We tried to kill your reputation. Turns out you're still out there. You still got a following. You're still getting 45, 46% of the vote in case of Trump, right? So now we bring up these charges. Now, folks, they're suspicious charges. These women have had all this time, decades, okay? This guy now has gone from being in Hollywood to now he's a recovered, you're never recovered, but you're a recovering alcoholic, drug addict, and sex addict, whatever that means. But anyway, so you're doing that. You're now married. You have kids. I think they live in some farm in Britain. The guys just, they've had all this time, and it's all of a sudden, He's been doing this for about a year, and all of a sudden now, conveniently, you've decided you want to bring these charges. Now, look, if these charges are legitimate charges, then obviously he should go through the system. But they can never, it's like Rush used to say, they'll always tell you who scares them the most and what scares them the most. What scares them the most is people like you and me being able to get behind a microphone and reach millions of people. When you first start doing this, you'll read this somewhere, and it actually is kind of correct, is that when you start behind the microphone, whether you get hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or millions or whatever, you really have to understand that at any one point in time, something you say could reach millions. And that bothers them. They can't stand that idea. They want it controlled. The only thing that should be able to reach millions are the ones that we tell you. And it's very simple. We'll finish off that by the day, what they want there. And there's a very simple why they're killing America. But those of you, I think I heard Eric Erickson say it yesterday or the day before. I'm a little bit behind on some of my shows, so I've forgotten. But both sides love the country. I mean, Eric, Jesus Christ, the 80s are calling. They need their policies back. It's like, are you kidding me? No, they don't love America. Merrick Garland detests America. Joe Biden detests America. Now, he may like America, the actual soil and what you see looking around, but the Constitution they detest. Why did they detest it? Because it's a system that says we're going to reward those that produce the most, and we're going to let the other people, we're not going to let you starve, but you're not going to be able to get rich. People like Biden, people like Merrick Garland, they have gotten somehow by crook or by, they've gotten in there, they've gotten their little bit of wealth, and now they understand that in a constitutional democracy, which is this is supposed to be under the rule of law, they could lose it tomorrow, and they would lose it. So they want corruption where no matter how bad they are, they can keep it. It's very simple. So what do you got to do? You got to get rid of the Constitution. You got to get rid of America. And now does it start to make sense? Well, of course. If you had a system where, hey, I've got a bunch of money that I've made being corrupt, and I don't want you to take it. So, well, but if we enforce the law, sir, you're going to get impeached and go to jail. And so's your son. Oh, okay, what's this other system? Well, if you do what we tell you, we'll make sure you don't get prosecuted. We'll make sure you get this cushy. I mean, Merrick Garland, we're going to get to him in a minute. I have more talent in my pinky than he has in his whole body. Obviously, that guy didn't get where he got because of his ability. So therefore, he doesn't want a system where its ability rise and fall. Anyway, coming back to Rusty Rockets, the important part of the story broke, I think, yesterday. The British government sent a letter to TikTok and Rumble asking if Brand is, quote, able to make profit from his content on the platform, okay? Now, folks, this is big-time major league problems when you start to see this. Now, the fact that they thought it, it's like my mentor used to say, I can't believe you even thought that. The fact that you thought it and then wrote it down and then brought it to me to read, I have serious questions. Forget about your ability to practice law. That I don't believe at all. I have serious questions about your ability to even understand the English language, right? You read something like this. The government official didn't just think it. They wrote it down. They sent it. It's published. It's out there. They think that without any charge, without any investigation, other just the accusations we don't like, you should be demonetized. Now, folks, riddle me this. I understand it's England. I get it. Okay? I get it's the UK. I get it's Europe. All right? But trust me, the leftists out there used to be way more radical than ours. Now it's kind of a dogfight. But, it's coming this way. Why do you think we have a criminal system and a civil system? Why do you think we have that? We have it for this very reason. Because some things, very few things, are criminal. The government, we have this whole process. Hey, government, you think I did something criminal? Oh, well, here's what you do. You got to go get a grand jury, which used to be a check and balance. Isn't anymore. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not. You can get that on a ham sandwich. It's no big deal. You can get it on a lamb. But at least you get a jury trial, and there's all these procedures, and then we have guidelines of how you're supposed to be sentenced, right? I mean, trust me, it's way expansive and too expansive, and we need to be cutting back on it. And that's one of the things that we should get out of the Trump era, is people should see the abuse that's going on. Even if everything they say about Trump is true, and it's not, but even if it were, these are ridiculous charges they carry. I mean, a contempt of Congress, like 10 years? Give me a break. It should be not even be 10 days. But anyway, I digress. We have this system you have to go through, right? No. See, people who ever wrote this letter, and I'm not going to look at who it is. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This person, he or she, they think, limited. Well, I'm the so-and-so of so-and-so. I'm going to demonetize you. Your kids can't go into the school that you want. You're not going to be able to eat at a restaurant. They actually think this is governance. This is insanity, and it's pure fascism in its essence and its form, right? In other words, in fascism, there's a lot of people trying to define what fascism is, and for a leftist, fascism is just something they don't like. right? And that is literally what it is. I don't like what Marjorie Taylor Greene says. She's a fascist. That's not the way it works. Fascism is a system by which you use non-governmental means, right, to help you to control society. So whatever the government is not permitted to do, you then use other means, sometimes in conjunction, sometimes not in conjunction, with the government to get what you want. It's just classic of what it is, right? Turn people into pride. Well, obviously Russell Brand, I got to go get him indicted. The grand jury might not indict him. I got to try him. They might say not guilty. That's a pain in the neck. Why not just demonetize him, right? Well, we have systems set up so you can't do that. Anyway, so that's really all there is to say about that. You're going to hear a bunch of people talking about stuff like that. This is part of the Rudy thing and the Cassidy thing I want to go to, so I'm going to skip ahead. Not ready for Cassidy. We're going to finish with Cassidy. Okay, so yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, Merrick the Garland went to Congress to testify before the House. I tweeted this morning, or maybe it was last night, I can't remember. I don't know why you're just bringing these people to Congress anymore. Look, I'm not a Republican. I've never been registered for any political party, nor have I ever given any donation. That's actually not true. It's a long story. It's like the old absence of malice. It's true, but is it accurate, right? It's not true. I have given a donation, but it's not accurate. I could explain why it is, but trust me, I've never given money to a politician on my own behalf. Just don't believe in it. Don't believe in political parties or being a member of one. But I do understand the system that they're going to put, 1, 2, 3, whatever before me, and I'm going to choose the best one. And right now, unfortunately, you're only getting one choice, and that's the Republican Party, because it's a political party. They're not great. They're no great shakes. They're not doing anything great. But at least they're not fascists. At least they're not complete on authoritarians and statists, which is what the Democrat Party is. At this point, it's a lot of things. It's a crime machine as well. But there's just no idea of governing there. Unless you think that governing is telling people what to do and stealing their money. But I suppose if that's governance in your view, you should vote for them. But anyway, so one of the problems, among the problems the Republican Party has right now, is they continue to try the same old tactics. And one of the reasons they fear Trump, folks, not just because he fights back, and he does. One of the reasons they fear Trump is Trump's willing to shake the box. He's willing to do things different. Now, folks, if I see one more Republican bring down one more moron to come before them to flat out lie or just decline to answer the question, and they'll go, well, gee, golly, well, the American people, they know what's going on, and the American people have seen through America. It's like, dude, I don't know what you're thinking. Nobody pays attention. Nobody cares. And this doesn't work. Try something different. If it was me, I'd impeach them all. I'd start with Garland. Mayorkas would be next. Biden, of course. All of them. Just impeach. All these judges that are sentencing these January 6 people. Chutkan, who is not kicking back against Jack Smith's unconstitutional conduct. Just start impeaching. And I understand. I get it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate. I get that people are going to say the impeachment doesn't mean anything. I get it. But so what? Shake the box. Try it. Something different. It's different. It might work, it might not. But I can tell you what ain't working. This right here. This is Tom Massey talking to Merrick the Garland, and I want you to listen to this nonsense. What is the point of bringing this person down here to do it? I told you earlier in the show I don't do depositions, Lars. Sometimes I will, if I have a client in certain situations, I will, but mostly I don't for this very reason. Take a listen.
The rule of law, I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
So this is the typical line of, I don't comment on an investigation that's ongoing. Oh, well, obviously that's not the flipping law, because if it was, then we'd never have hearings, right? There's oversight. I'm not asking you to comment on specifics. I'm asking you to give me generalities without naming names. In a free society, in a constitutional republic, this literally you should be hearing about nothing but this, about how your attorney general thinks you, the American people, aren't entitled to know anything, because he's got an investigation. Well, guess when he ain't going to have an investigation? That he's basically saying, screw you, I do what I want, and the American people, screw you too, and whoever else, I do whatever I want, investigation. Did I say investigation? Done. Next question. That's what he's saying.
Peter Navarro was indicted for contempt of Congress. Aren't you, in fact, in contempt of Congress when you give us this answer? This is an answer that's appropriate at a press conference. It's not an answer that's appropriate when we are asking questions. We are the committee that is responsible for your creation, for your existence of your department. You cannot continue to give us these answers. Aren't you, in fact, in contempt of Congress when you refuse to answer?
Of course.
Congressman, I have the greatest respect for Congress. I also have the greatest respect for the Constitution and laws of the United States. The protection of pending investigations and ongoing...
There's no more point. There's no more point to this. Okay. And again, with the breakdown of the system is that, let's just read. I caught this out of Cerno's feeds. I'll just read what he has to say. I think he put it well. He's well put. We will win 2024 or we are effed. I'm not going to say the word, but he did. They won't even kind of sort of pretend to care. We will be open executions and FBI agents molesting kids in front of parents, pure Soviet tactics. I'm not going to go that far, but that, folks, let me just tell you something. We got big time major league problems when the attorney general, like, just literally investigation, screw you. And here's where he's rubbing the salt in the wounds. And I have the greatest respect for the Congress and the Constitution, right? That's, screw you. And by you, it's the American people, us. And, you know, when he's gotten to that point, it ain't good. All right, folks. So Louis C.K. went out there, and I think he got Me Too. I guess he's been un-Me Too'd. I didn't know there was a process to get a pardon from the Me Too, but apparently there is. So Louis C.K. went out there, and he said this, and a lot of people are doing this. This is in my feed from Nessie. Wish Louis C.K. would go spend 6 months living outside of the U.S. He'd come back, kiss American soul, support building the wall, and be grateful he is an American. This is Nessie. Apparently we follow each other. Seems to be a conservative Republican based on the stuff that is in her feed, which are kind of tells. Nessie, you could not be more wrong. You are not dealing with someone sane. The sooner you realize these people are not sane, okay? You can't logic somebody out of something they didn't get to it in logic. And I used to say it all the time at my club. You can't logic with these people. That's the first lesson. You're 5 years away from getting where we are because you're trying to logic with this person. Obviously, this person is insane. Take a listen.
But my feeling is they should open the border, and just let them pour it, let everybody pour in, and then the answer, which is, well, then there'll be all these problems. Yes, there should be. It shouldn't be so great here, is what I'm saying. In America, it shouldn't be. It's a weird thing to sequester a certain group of people and try to keep upping their lifespan and their lifestyle, and just keep trying to increase that for this group of people, and then this pressure of people trying to come in so they can enjoy it, and then it gets worse and worse down here. I mean, I'm not in Canada. It's really just from down here.
Okay, that's an insane person, folks. I mean, anybody dumb enough to believe in this modern world, the notion that he was taught and believes that the only reason that America is rich is because we just happen to be blessed and we're in this little area where we have all these natural resources and we got these two oceans, so you really can't attack us. And, well, Pearl Harbor doesn't count. That doesn't count at all. And yet the British burned the White House in 1812, but, you know, that was like a fluke and we were just... Like, anybody that thinks that's why we're successful is an imbecile, okay? They're an imbecile. And there's no more point in listening or talking to them, or certainly not in the way that these people are talking. Oh, well, if you go, no, he wouldn't. He's not capable of thought. What's changed, folks, is that these people that I used to tweet. I should probably tweet it again here soon. We're in the process of encouraging people we should be discouraging, and discouraging people we should be encouraging. This person should be discouraged under a rational system to open his mouth because he's a moron. I mean, let's explore what he's saying. Oh, we're just lucky. Okay, folks, don't take my word for it. Go to the Google, go to the interwebs or the internets. Just stop right now, the broadcast. It'll be here. You can come back later. Go do it right now. Go look up the wealthiest countries by resources. And you will see countries that are absolute bleep holes. Okay? Mexico, one of them, for example, where all these people are streaming from. They're all on the list. They got more natural resources. When was the last time there was a war down there? There ain't no wars down there. They ain't fighting. Europe has blown itself to smithereens for thousands of years, right? I mean, folks, take Germany. I mean, I've done this before. Let's do it again, right? They razed Germany to the ground. 1945. Hitler in the bunker, shoots himself, right? Takes cyanide pills, whatever. All that going on down there. And the reason he was doing that? Because the country he loved had been razed to the ground. Just destroyed. And he'll even tell you, millions of German men and women, but mostly men, your best and your brightest, mowed down, shot, all of it, right? Now, if I had come to you and say 1947, say, you know what, in about 40 years, they're going to be the biggest economy by far in Europe, you'd have laughed in my face, right? And I said, well, it's the Germans. You give them a little bit of time, a little bit of freedom, and God only knows, right? I mean, I would do right now. I don't do it anymore because I'm still trying to keep in the good graces of the YouTube so we can grow that channel. If we can get to 250, I think we can start posting more things. So, but anyway, I would do the Norm Macdonald joke about the Germans, right? But the point is, folks, they're just industrious people. And Germany's got no greater real advantages over there than France. Or, they probably do over Spain because its Spanish terrain is not really good for moving people around in wars and whatnot. But France has got the same stuff, right? And it's the industrious of those people. So the people like Louis Kay who believe that kind of nonsense are just morons, and there's no point in talking to them. And folks, if you think that if they just lived it for a while, they would understand, people like him wouldn't. People like AOC wouldn't. People like Pelosi would. People like Biden probably would. But you just have to understand and accept, folks, we've always had these people. It's always been probably a good 15, 20, 25% of people that are just insane. They go through life, and if they get fired because they were late, it's their boss is a jerk, and fate's just against them, and it's never their fault. They're just not rational people. The difference between our system now and then is that we used to weed these people out. They used to not have power. What you're seeing with the Biden administration is we're putting these people in power. Chutkan is she is the Trump judge right now in the D.C. case is Louis C.K. She is insane, literally insane. Now, what used to be in the old days, like, I can't put her on the bench. What can we do? Well, we can give her like a staff job somewhere. Good job. She'll get a pension. She'll survive. She'll live a good life. Well, we can't give her any real power. She's insane. Now, that is what we've learned about Obama, and Biden is doing it on steroids. Okay, so let's go back to Cassidy Hutchinson and explain how this system is where it is and how we get these quote-unquote news stories where literally I just picked up what was the most popular that's going on out there, but none of this is news. It's all crap, right? It's all garbage. I mean, bringing Garland down to lie about loving the Constitution, that's not news. It's completely manufactured narrative nonsense. How do we get there? Well, let's start with Molly Hemingway, who you should be reading Molly Hemingway if you're not. She's a great follow on Twitter. She's a great journalist, and I mean that. I mean, she comments, and she's pretty clear about where she stands. But when she writes, it's the kind of person that you can tell where she and I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I'm obviously a commentator, but when I go to Substack and I write things, and I write this article about Jack Smith and gag orders, or I write an article about whether Section 3 of the 14th Amendment applies to the office of the president, it doesn't, both of which are articles I published recently. At that point, I'm a journalist because I have my viewpoints. But when I'm telling you facts and I say, this is the law, this is the fact, this is what happened in this history, I'm duty bound to tell you the truth, not lie to you. The quote-unquote people that call themselves journalists, they lie about that, right? But anyway, coming back, Molly, when she's telling you facts, she sticks to facts. When she's telling you opinion, she's telling you opinion. So here's the exclusive at Cassidy Hutchinson. In private, Cassidy Hutchinson joked about the riot, called January 6th committee phony, praised Trump before changing her story. Okay, now listen, I don't know. I'm not omniscient. Only God knows. And Cassidy Hutchinson and whoever was there knows. But let's assume this is the case, that she was and she saw it for what it is. All of us did. Okay, so Trump tried to have a rally. He thought the rally would somehow get Congress to be more likely to toss the election to the House. If you toss the election to the House, he's got a better chance of winning, although I still don't think it would have worked. I don't think the House would have voted for him. I think enough rhinos would have flipped over in states where they had a majority, would have still cast their one vote. And I think it was like a 29-21 advantage or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But I do believe the House would have elected Biden. But it doesn't matter. That was kind of the plan. Now, what messes up the plan, folks? The riot. People getting in there. Now, how do we know that in all likelihood at this point they absolutely planned that? Well, we know that Pelosi had very little security. You're supposed to believe that the Congress, while they're there for frippin' sake, okay, the 100 senators, all 435 people in the House, they're all there, very powerful people, and the Vice President of the United States, that they just decided, well, we ain't going to have any security. No need for that. Right? Come on. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I've written this on my Substack page too, greatamericanwhale@substack.com, about Trump's whole plan was known to everybody because the AP was publishing it as early as October of 2020. By November, it was everywhere. Everyone knew he was going to challenge it. All these people, these fake electors they're prosecuting now, they all sent letters to the Congress. Everybody had it. In Maddow, I think in November, she mocked it and made fun of it. Okay, they knew about it. They knew it was going to happen. They didn't want it to happen. They didn't want to take a chance. And it's not complicated why. I mean, hey, we believe that he won because he won the electoral vote, but it's electoral college matters. It votes on, it doesn't matter. Safe harbor, December 20th. You can't do that. States have all certified, right? They're not going to take a chance, all right? They're not going to allow democracy to happen. You kidding me? Democracy? Give me a break. We got our guy, and you got to understand, it's life and death for these people. They get Biden into office, everybody's fine, money's in. All these states like California and New York, and they bragged about running budget surplus. They didn't write budget surpluses. They were about broke. What got them bailed out was Biden winning and taking those 2 Senate seats that they took in Georgia. But without Biden, no chance. So they weren't going to let that happen. Obviously, they wanted it to go in there, and it worked out precisely like they wanted. And do you ever think it's coinky-dinky that within minutes of Ted Cruz and the other ones standing up and say, I object to the electors from Arizona, that right then the Capitol's breached? What are the odds of that? That is awful good timing, isn't it? You held them, and then all of a sudden they breach. Setting all that aside, who cares? Let's take what Molly Hemingway says is true, that she's joking about it, and it is a joke. Even assuming you believe, right, that these people were ticked off and they were mad and they wanted to hang Pence and do all this stuff because Pence wasn't going to do certain things. Let's assume for the sake of the argument that's all true, okay? It's still not an insurrection. You can't take over a government, especially a government this powerful, by walking around in the Capitol wearing a Viking hat and carrying some zip ties. It's absurd. There's just no way to do it. So, of course, she joked about the thing. Everyone knew the January 6th committee was phony. I mean, Pelosi could, she couldn't just help herself. And listen, again, a lot of people praise Pelosi. I don't think she's praiseworthy. I think she's condemnable. But, folks, that was the beginning, again, and you got to give the Democrats credit. You form a committee. It's a garbage committee from the beginning, but you've got the House. You can do whatever the flip you want. You go to McCarthy. All right, McCarthy, name your 6 people. I've got my 7. They're already going to rig it, folks. The chairperson's going to do. They're not going to they're going to do just like they did the Impeachment. Oh, you can't bring witnesses. No, you can't question this. Oh, you can't name that. They're going to rig it. So how petty do you have to be when McCarthy sends you the 6 or 5 people, whatever it was? It included 2 people. She goes, no, not those 2 people. And McCarthy goes, never in human history have you ever been able to say, I'm changing that, right? I'm Darth Vader. I've altered the deal. You just better pray I decide not to alter it further. What's it going to be? And then she just goes on through. Oh, well, you ain't bringing anybody at all, then fine. I'll name a couple Republicans and off we go, right? It should have been stopped then, right? It's like that old thing from The Godfather, you should have stopped him, Hitler, at the beginning. That's when you stop him. You don't wait until he's gone to all these lands and had years and years and years to build planes, tanks, and get soldiers ready. But anyway, everyone knew the January 6th committee was phony. So this probably is a true story. Well, then she comes out and all of a sudden she's in the Trump camp. She is like, she thinks she knows there's something suspicious about the election. She knows something's going on. Let's assume for the sake of the argument, everything that she says in this Molly Hemingway exclusive is true. That she was joking about it. This is all nonsense. Pretty soon, within a couple of months, she sees it's being called an insurrection. The news is calling it an insurrection. The January 6th committee calls. They want you to talk to them. They want you to come and testify under oath. Okay? What do you think Cassidy Hutchinson sees? She sees, oh, well, if I keep telling the truth, well, I'm not going anywhere. And, it's not like it's a Republican administration in power, at least for 4 more years and maybe longer. And I see, it's like my mother used to say, or still says, I suppose, I know where my bread is better buttered, right? So she goes before the January 6th committee and she tells this whopper. And folks, I remember because I was live streaming. In fact, if you go to the YouTube, and please, if you do subscribe, I think they're also on Rumble, by the way. Either one, you can find them. I live streamed all but one, and the other one I did on a tape afterwards just because I think I had a work thing I couldn't get to. But I was live streaming when this happened, and I called it for the lie immediately when she said it. You could tell it was a bold-faced lie. It was a joke. Anyway, here's Cassidy Hutchinson testifying before the January 6th committee. Take a listen.
To go down peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. The Secret Service, who have great...
This is Trump. I'm sorry. We'll come back to Cassidy. She told this ridiculous story. This is Welker about a week ago asking Trump about her testimony or oath. Take a listen. We started the show with that.
Respect for said, "Sir, it's better if you don't do that. It could be unsafe." Because they didn't because of riots, because it takes one guy with bad intentions. Okay. So I didn't have a dispute with them. You had that one person said, "I grabbed the man around the neck." Actually, I wish I was so strong to be able to do that. These are all tough guys, smart guys.
Dispute that account.
Dispute it? Who wouldn't dispute it? She's the craziest account I've ever heard. You mean that I was in the Beast, and she said I was in the Beast, and the Secret Service didn't win. So I took a guy who was like a black belt in karate and grabbed his neck and tried to choke him.
What happened?
How ridiculous. Just so you understand. And I have great respect for Secret Service, by the way. They're fantastic. The Secret Service said, "Sir, it would be better if you did." And I said, "I'd love to do it." They said it would be better until we went back to the White House. Just so you understand, I made a very nice speech.
Tell me how you watched this all unfold. Were you in the dining room watching?
Okay, she comes back. Unfortunately, I thought I had Cassidy Hutchinson and you could hear her, but it looks like I don't. But anyway, her story in front of January 6th, and by the way, you're all caught up with the news of the day. I'm going to finish with this. Hopefully I'll be under 40. I'm going to be just over 40, no big deal. All right, so she tells the story that he wanted to go to the Capitol. And again, among the many reasons you can tell when somebody's lying is that people, when they lie, they just tell unrealistic things that don't make any sense, right? And so even in real time, Trump points out there a moment ago, it didn't make any sense. He's a 70-some-year-old man. The Secret Service is in the Beast, right? How's he going to overpower them? Not to mention, I'm sorry, but her story is, "Hey, I want to go to the Capitol. Sir, we don't think that's a good idea. We're going back to the White House." And then he tries to overpower them, right? Well, that's weird because I'm pretty sure the Secret Service is told by the President of the United States they do what they're told. That'd be my guess, understanding. So the whole idea that they would refuse doesn't make any sense. But if they decide to refuse, Trump is going to attack them. And then, of course, the next day, you had a bunch of people break out and point out that the Beast is not just any car. It's not just any limo. It's huge. It's no possible way for you with your left hand to restrain one of these Secret Service guys who's in the car. So they're going to be big and strong and well trained. And then at the same time, try to grab the wheel. Like, how in the world would you ever think that would work out? Not to mention, in what universe, if you somehow, if you were Chuck Norris in his prime and you were able to get these people down, where are you going to go? How are you going to get through the crowd? I mean, this is not even a nimble car. It's not a motorcycle. You can't just go through. You're going to have to there's going to be tons of traffic. You're going to have to run people over. It was a stupid, insane lie to begin with, right? But now you see how it works. Let's go back to Christian Welker. What's really great about this is Trump's face when he's like, dispute it. Like, I mean, the look in his face, like, you actually believe that? But see, now you see it come full circle. She told that lie over a year ago. It was a stupid lie when she told it. The next couple of days, all the people like me and Rusty Rockets and others that they try to suppress. I mean, and look, I'm not saying I'm getting the Rusty Rockets treatment. I hope I never do or anything like that. But they suppress my feed. I used to get like 200-300 new followers a day. Now I get like 10. And that was good because I went about literally a month and a half where I had net no new followers. I'd get 20 people sign up, and then I'd lose 22, and then back and forth. And again, I don't know why they care about my old feed. I've got 46,000 people. It's nothing. Rusty Rockets, Scott Adams, they got millions, right? But anyway, now you see how it works. They just completely manufactured this, and now here it is a year and a half later after being completely debunked. You've got the new Meet the Depressed anchor bringing it up like it's just true as the sun coming up in the morning, and you got Cassidy Hutchinson that told the lie getting a book deal, right? And she's going to be popular for the next couple of days, getting money off her book deal, getting famous. That's the ecosystem you've created, and all over something that was completely manufactured. There was no insurrection, right? There was no trying to overturn an election. There was trying to challenge an election, but no overturning, right? There was no anybody grabbing the beast. And it's just a play. And you ask yourself, why now versus then? Well, it's very simple. You've got an electorate of people who will fall for this. Some of which, like this Louis C.K.'s of the world, they eat it up. 30% of the people, our friends and neighbors. You go down to the grocery store, you look to your left, look to your right. One of those people is insane. They want this. They start at 33-0. Then you tack on the welfare crowd. You tack on the racist crowd. You tack on the Lawrence tribe crowd that gets money hand over fist out of it, right? Pretty soon you're at 50%. And just in case you need, Pennsylvania, the legislature didn't do this. Governor can't do this, but he did anyway. Governor just unilaterally declared. The law in Pennsylvania is when you go get an ID, you have to check the box. It's called motor voter. Clinton started it back in the day. Now it's automatic. He just did that with a stroke of the pen, right? And you get a few of those. And folks, if you don't understand that 45 days of voting and mail-in ballots is just an excuse to generate tens of thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands, but certainly tens of thousands of ballots, right? Then I don't know what to tell you. You tell that to a European, they'll laugh in your face. You got to vote in person that day with an ID. Otherwise, people will steal your vote. It's just that simple. But anyway, folks, that's why we are where we are, right? And this example, this Cassidy Hutchinson's the biggest story you're not hearing about, is a complete manufactured 1984 Stalinist show trial creation. And she's going to get rich. Welker's going to get rich. People are going to be influenced. And your system is going to be destroyed. And if you have any doubt about that, there's a story out there that California is going to permit illegals to vote in California elections. I don't think they can do it in federal elections yet because they got to get a federal court to declare that. But they can let them do it in the state elections. And, 2 million people are pouring in or more per year. That's all this is about. It just makes it easier to do it. Pretty soon they won't be at 51 and 52 and 53. They'll be at 60. It'll be just like Russia. But anyway, all right, folks, you're all caught up to date with the news of the day. And if you enjoyed this live stream /podcast, I hope you tune back in tomorrow.